What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. It was a wild weekend of going through cards. I found more C104s. Again, stop DMing me on those. They'll all be in the Discord. Nobody gets to pre-claim, and I get that it is a very nice price. I'm putting them at 35. I'm essentially giving away free money when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! And these are only going up. I'm sticking to my price on any I find. I'm limiting the amount people can claim when I'm putting them up, and that's the best I can do. Whatever I find, I give. If it becomes a not so fun experience, I'm just gonna sell to local shops. So just be in the Discord for that one, y'all. Then I also found priceless stuff like this, the Raymundo Tempest. I got to talk Shaolin Showdown with people and reminisce about all the drawn-on stuff. Somebody actually came up and said that they're the one that made these kinds of things back in the day. Then also, Insecto con Hombres. And finally, I found my Sangan Magician of Faith misprint. This has been missing for over 4 years, I want to say. I think it was the last tabletop stream with Billy. He changed some stuff in the GOAT decks. I think this went in the wrong box. Then it got shuffled in. There's hundreds of 5Ks and 4Ks behind me. And that's what's been really tiring about the claim sales. Like stacking a box, going to the next stacking, rearranging. I'm still not to the bottom third of them. Same with over here. I've still got muscle for this old man. I can still flex a bit on you kids. But when it comes down to this stuff, it is just priceless to find these memories, these things that have been gone for a while, and actually pool it together. I'm going to make my past format decks out of stuff, and then decide what further goes into claims from what I've piled out tonight, probably, because I'm mailing stuff out tomorrow, so you might want to pay attention to the Discord, but sadly, no more C104s for now, and probably not for another week, unless I happen to find some and stumble onto them somehow. Now, in a thanks John Moore moment after the feel-good moments, Dark Fusion Ultimate Rare went up because of my highlight. My main point was, hey, look, this is all the way down to 350. The market's broken, especially when the other versions are higher. So yes, it's a market correction to some degree, but it's also because of me highlighting it on YouTube and people going for it. Somebody posted one of these on Reddit, and it was properly etched, and it looked so freaking good. Then I've seen the flat ones that look so terrible, which is why I would want to get this kind of stuff in person. But having no QCR, being a max rarity hero card and being at 350, while the other versions were 7, 8, it made absolutely no sense. So I see this more as a market correction. But again, because of my highlight, that's why it's up. Also, I was going through other OTSs and I saw that Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is up. I was actually thinking about Ray and how Sky Striker was doing good, and then also how bad a Luber was because somebody brought up a Luber, so I went specifically here, and people are looking at this for the format. Now, on pricing, I've seen some drama on this Blue Eyes. It's selling for 900 plus, 1,000 plus, and this is the WCQ stamp specifically. There will be a lot of YCS stamps released through the year, I'm sure. However, when we say a lot, people have spreadsheeted out the amount of Blue Eyes pulled so far, and it seems less than most of the other cards. They've actually gone around through Top Cut players that were opening their packs and stuff, and they compiled the data over on Zodiac. That's kind of interesting to me because it would be the chase pull within the pack. Now, clumping is an all-modern product, so who knows if another YCS or something is suddenly going to have a ton, but these are the WCQ stamps. This is the one time for this, we would assume, unless they decide to do this same pack for multiple WCQ seasons, which would be kind of unlike Konami. With tournament support, they tend to cycle it out within a year. I do think with this one, Blue Eyes collectors are a different breed. This is a rare with an already released, but that special stamp, and we'll continue to see how both the WCQ version does as more YCS versions come out. But again, that drama / maybe FOMO going on that there's less of these is very interesting from on-the-ground reporting. Sky Striker Mobilize Engage Secret Rare is going up as Sky Strikers did a little something this last weekend, and I do think that's a huge accolade for getting top 8. I do see here that $18 might seem high for this card, but it already was up there with all the recent Sky Striker buyouts. It wasn't just chump change heading into these, but they've been been escalating, right from 12 to 15 before this, so 18 is kind of a natural push up with it actually seeing success. Then Tri-Brigade got new support. I just read through it. It's freaking amazing. That link is actually going to do some work. So is the spell. People are apparently mixing in the engine with Yummy as well, and we already saw some of that go into, I believe, Lunalight too, with Fractal already getting a buyout. But here we go. Tri-Brigade, Ferjit, Starlight to Rare, one of the OG bought out Starlights, if you recall the cycles for getting sent from the extra deck. It is going up in price, and I didn't know every version of this card was still $1 plus, so that's also interesting. But Fractal, again, already bought out before this. Teller Knights are going to get new support. We have no clue what it is yet, but we've seen Terminal World 3 is coming. So here is the Quarter Century Secret Rare on buyout mode, and then you also have Teller Knight Ptolemaeus starting to go. I would think DUEA format is one that could get a little attention, but it's a very grindy one between BA and Shadol and the back and forth there on the actual applications of playing it. And then the next set, if you're trying to argue evolving formats, has Klee getting strong, which isn't so fun. And then Necros come in and they wreck shop, and then BA wins that Nationals anyways. It's very complex, but I don't know that it's a past format that ends up taking off, but a lot of people chatter on it. So if it's actually good support, you might see people overreach on the Teller Knight stuff. XX Saber Fall Troll is also going because X Sabers were announced for that. I think I pulled some of them out in the pile that might be going up tonight. I'll condition check those and we'll see, but I'm pretty darn sure I pulled out some DTs. We have other X Saber stuff that I didn't even think about, like Saberhole only has one printing still. How? I don't know, but it is really expensive for what it is, and other X Sabers are getting looked up. Beast King Barbaros popped off at the R-Bet, I heard, and in real time was getting bought out versus the stream. So we can see here that it was available a lot more, and sales went wild on it, and now it's pretty much off the market. I might have skipped a tab. Ah, yes, Spell Card Soul Exchange for the modern formats. It's not only good in stun because whatever you bring out can't be tributed when your opponent can get the effect of this card, and then also it's apparently good in K9, where if you end up getting kind of in this back and forth situation, you can tribute down to one K9 monster, they can't tribute your K9, and you clear parts of their field they're trying to build their board with by tributing. So this card has been getting attention and is going up. This is actually towards the back end because I wanted to see where the most expensive listings are. It's not the most ridiculous. You can still get this under $1, but it has doubled up in price over time, but still very affordable. Ryza the Storm Monarch for its Platinum and Dimensional Prism Platinum are both up. So as QCRs get more expensive and people are just looking for accessible versions that look nice, they are buying up the plats lately. Goyo Guardian for its OG text, though, the R-Bet text, it is getting bought out for the 10 version, interestingly, and going up in price. So be aware of that sales have been starting to climb for this, and people seem to have their faith in Time Wizard outside of Konami, which I do think is fair. I think R-Bet's going to be very strong unless Konami tries to directly do something, and they have done that with independent tournaments, but usually there's a legality around it, like somebody trying to call something a YCS. That would be a no-no. I do think with this, R-Bet's going to continue. I think they're pretty smart in terms of what they're doing, and I think they're putting Time Wizard on their back over here in North America, so maybe it's not as doom and gloom as I first thought, but I'm still going to be whittling down to 2 binders, maybe a little bit of a collection as I get more sentimental about misprints and things, and we'll see what I end up actually keeping versus selling. But R-Bet really doing big work and impacting the market. Torrential Tribute Collector Rare, so not everybody's all allergic to the mid-maxes after a QCR comes out. This is back up towards 15 from being down under 12. I think it's a pretty darn nice looking version of the card as well personally, but I get not everybody thinks that about collector rares. players. Thunder King Ryo QCR is going on buyout mode. You can see here it was down towards 25. Now it's got a lowest 40 listing. After that, 1 is gone there towards 50, 55, and then it just keeps on climbing from there in price if people don't repopulate. I talked about the Akiza token and how row support, people might actually be looking this up, and it turns out they did, and now a lot more are suddenly listed as well. So the supply is way up while the price is up. Let's see where the demand goes from that and how competitive sellers get. But as people look through tokens, also the Yami Yugi and Dark Magician token skyrocketed here as well. I'm a big token collector in terms of I got a huge stack from throughout the ages, and I don't know if those count as Yu-Gi-Oh card collectibles. Again, getting a little grabby with my stuff, but I plan to be selling a ton. This is up towards 20, and I find it interesting how modern tokens are performing despite the fact they have re-waved certain tokens like the Sky Striker one that are popular. And finally, I was looking up LOB format stuff because I feel like I should go lowest rarity on my decks, but I found a bunch of the supers, and turns out right now they got bought out after they got missed in the QCR promotion. However, what I was shocked to see is the first thing that started getting bought out originally is the DT, and this is just at the floor. This is the problem I've always had with DT cards. Even if they're old school DT, DT 1 through 4 got clearanced at some point, and the population of them to resurface is just immense. Whereas the super rare out of the War of the Giants, it's a nice looking version, and it feels like it's stabilized more over time in terms of people coming back to it over DT. Let me know your thoughts though. I know there's a lot of DT fans out there and people that stan it, especially when it is the highest rarity, like poor Wabaku. I think for LOB format in specific, it's such an interesting look into these decks and how they can go, and I love that format so much. It's just Unga Bunga, Caveman beat Yu-Gi-Oh! The basic bare bones. I'm not a boomer. I love Troop Dupe too, by the way, even though that's before Synchro, but that is like when Yu-Gi-Oh! First got goats to just go, let's go! And like, we see those OTKs actually semi-consistently pop off. I love that format too, so I'm not just like old, slow Yu-Gi-Oh! When Yu-Gi-Oh! Was back and forth. No, I like a good OTK, and I go all the way to like Thunder Dragon format. I would play some Toss also, so I do think I might end up building a Toss deck out of stuff. Like, I think I'm a Thunder Dragon player for that personally, and then you have to figure out which Toss format because it goes for so long. My points aside is, it's not like I'm offloading everything. I saw somebody be like, I'm so sad to see John selling stuff, and I'm like, don't be. I'm gonna keep 2 collection binders at least, all my OCG stuff. I'm gonna keep my banners, my figures, my statues. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! This doesn't change my love of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I'm sick of Konami's BS and their decisions and these splits, and it's clearly Konami NA if EU is ending up keeping Time Wizard as is, but I'm not gonna travel to Europe just to play some Time Wizard. I wanna be able to travel to my local regional and play that. I wanna travel to my locals and play a good tournament for that, and they've made another announcement, by the way, if you haven't seen, that they are not going to support them at all, but you can host them. So they did this whole, you can host them, go ahead buddies, but you don't get anything from us to do that with. Like what? We can't just do OTS packs, we can't do something, like it's still a tournament. Yeah, so they've walked back again a little bit, and the side deck's the one that posted that, but I'm just not happy with Konami at this moment, and I think I'm at my limit there in terms of like just so many bad decisions, and there's been good ones too, and I highlight those, like the pricing changes. Now, I think this could have been better. I think that it's okay to be critical of things you love, but when it comes down to it, they've done good things recently, but there's a sea of bad decisions and product, and I don't see a gateway turning things around. So again, I would never be disingenuous with my audience. I give my reasons. I'm transparent. It's not like I'm vendor man all of a sudden. If you peeked in the Discord, everything is, if it's something I'm really wanting to hold, kind of, and I'm making a decision, it's 20% off. And I've done a ton of things all the way down towards 60+% off, even further at some points. I do think, like, with all of this, though, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is only going to have more competition that ramps up and is there. I feel like its top 3 spot will not be there in 5 years unless there's a huge reversal in a year's time. I personally don't see that happening, and if there is one, I'll gladly just go back to starting to collect modern cards even. And I would love to see Rush Duel too. If they bring Rush Duel, regardless of what happens, I would be collecting some of the nice ones like Summon Skull, baby. Come on, give it to me. And giant cards for that, I would hope would appear too with the cancellation of Speed Duel right now. All points aside, I know this is a bit of a not market rant maybe in some people's minds, but that does affect the future of the market, how many people are in the game, the demand side of things, and with product being less demanded right now, the future isn't as bright for Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's okay to talk about. You're okay to talk about those kind of things, but do kind of try to reel it in with, like, the overdooming, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not going to die, but it's going to go to a part where it's not going to recover some of its player base, and past formats specifically are how people were staying away from Modern, yet staying in the scene so they could jump back in Modern, and if that's not officially supported anymore when it grew so big, then you don't have that revolving wheelhouse for those players, and you're going to lose them to other card games. That's just my thoughts, though. Let me know yours, and you're welcome. I've seen points saying they do think I'm overreacting and that market corrections happen all the time. But in the last 4 years, we've seen 3 failing sets in a row twice. I think that's in the last 3 years. But twice. 3 core sets in a row. And then the flagships aren't performing. The Megatons. Stuff like Battles. The names run into the ground. The OCG dropped that name a while ago. Animation Chronicle, etc. And yet we're still calling it Battles over here and running successful names into the ground like we did with Legendary Duelist. I think Konami has a real marketing problem as well as decision tree problem within its product. And there's a lot to do. Again, rant over here. I'll see you in the Discord tonight if you're doing some claims. And y'all have a good one.